We are live on YouTube and we'll be live on GETV in 2 minutes, less than 2 minutes. We are now live on GETV. It is 6:30. I'm waiting for the clerk to connect.
I'm here.
Hello, clerk.
Okay.
Okay, I'm going to, is 6:32 p.m. I'm going to call the March 4th, 2021 Gardner City Council special meeting to order. The clerk will please call the roll.
Councilor Boone,
Present.
Councilor Boudreaux,
Present.
Councilor Craig Cormier,
Present.
Councilor Ronald Cormier,
Present.
Councilor Jenna-Lowitz,
Present.
Councilor Graves,
Present.
Councilor Harder,
Present.
Councilor Mack,
Present.
Councilor Tyros,
Present.
Councilor Walsh,
Present.
President Kaczynski.
Present. Announcement of open meeting recordings pursuant to Governor Baker's March 12th, 2020 order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law, general law, chapter 30A, section 20, and the governor's March 15th, 2020 order imposing strict limitation on the number of people that may gather in one place. This meeting of the Gardner City Council will be conducted via remote participation and broadcast live on Gardner Educational Television Channel 8 and on the Gardner City Hall YouTube channel. The audio or video recording, transcript, or other comprehensive recording of proceedings will be posted on the city's website as soon as possible after the meeting. Just a reminder, since this meeting is being conducted via Zoom, there is a roll call vote on all motions. The purpose of tonight's meeting is to discuss agenda item 10395, an order appropriating $265,000 from free cash to mayor's unclassified building demo account. This item was on the city council agenda, referred to finance, back to city council, back to finance, and here we are. So we just had a finance committee meeting prior to this meeting where the finance committee met on this and has a recommendation for the council. And basically based on, and I said this during the finance committee meeting earlier, based on the growing concern that was expressed to me by several city councilors, which I also share, regarding the property at 177 West Street and the additional information that was provided to us on Tuesday of this week from the fire department and the building department, along with a lot of information since then. But at that time, I felt it was necessary for the city council to act on this item as soon as possible. We received a letter from the mayor that was 7 pages long with a lot of information on the timeline regarding this property and the proceedings so far on it. There's also a lot of information in there from our previous packet, as well as information that we've requested. And Councilor Mack sent an email just before the meeting that will be submitted for the minutes of this meeting as well. That was between her and the law department. So there is a lot of information to consider on this. And at this time, I would like to get a report from the finance committee. Councilor Cormier, Ron Cormier.
Reporting on behalf of the finance committee. It was a 2-to-1 vote to make a recommendation that we pass this money order. However, we wish to have it passed in the amount of $225,500. And therefore, I will make a motion that we amend, I'm going to make a motion that we pass the money order, and then I'm going to make an amendment to alter that amount.
Second the motion.
Motion made by Councilor Ron Cormier, seconded
Put it on
by,
the floor.
thank you. So motion made by Councilor Ron Cormier, seconded by Councilor Walsh to recommend passage of the order, so to pass the order appropriating $265,000 from free cash to the mayor's unclassified building demo account. And I'm sorry, to amend that order. Councilor Ron Cormier, you're muted.
Since that's now on the floor, I'd like to make an amendment that we alter that amount to read $225,500. And then I'll explain it when I can.
Second the motion.
Motion made by Councilor Ron Cormier, seconded by Councilor Walsh to appropriate, to amend the appropriation to $225,500 from free cash to the mayor's unclassified building demo account. Is there discussion on the motion? Councilor Ron Cormier?
Reason for that is the majority of the finance committee agreed that since this original money order was put up, we have received quotes. Since we have DCAM permission to do this without going out to bid, We did receive quotes, and the lowest quote was $205,000. However, as a good business practice, usually 10% amount is put in as a contingency. And this is where the excess comes to $225,500. In discussing with the mayor, we felt that this was an appropriate amount. We also felt that this is for the majority of the finance committee. It will still leave us approximately $600,000 in free cash. But that is the reason for reducing the amount for this amendment.
Thank you, Counselor. Any further discussion? Counselor Walsh?
I just want to make it clear that I was in favor of the reduced amount. Although I voted no on the motion to recommend, I was in favor of the reduced amount. Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor. Any further discussion? Counselor Graves?
Thank you, President Kaczynskis. I was able to listen in on the Finance Committee just a little while ago, and I believe that the building commissioner thinks that it's going to be more like $265,000, and I tend to agree with him. But the point is, I guess the question I have for the Finance Committee meeting through the chair is, if we do reduce it to 225.5 and we need more money, so the mayor's going to have to come back to the city council for more money. And are we still subject to the same DCAM waiver at that point, so that we can grant that further money?
Thank you, Counselor.
I can't answer that question.
I can't answer that question.
Okay, thank you, President Kaczynskis.
Mayor Nicholson?
Thank you very much, Madam President. We did reach out to DCAM for the answer to that. Right now, DCAM has waived the requirements for the project due to the emergency situation. The dollar amount that we put in for that is more for informational purposes on their end, but their ruling in terms of the procurement procedures is based on the situation itself rather than the financial dollar amount, was the answer we got. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Nicholson. Any further discussion? Counselor Boone?
Thank you, Madam President. I mean no disrespect to our experts who deem the building is in imminent danger of collapsing. When we had the Mackey and theater buildings with roof damage causing severe internal damage, and those buildings stood up for many years until we tore them down. With that said, I'm not an expert. I hate to spend the money, as probably most of us do, but I must rely on the experts. Therefore, I will be supporting the motion. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, Counselor Boone. Any further discussion?
This is on the motion to amend, Madam President.
Yes. So we are voting with no further discussion. Just to clarify, as Counselor Walsh just said as well, this is on the motion to amend to the amount to $225,500. If there's no further discussion, the clerk will please call the roll.
Counselor Boone,
Yes.
Counselor Boudreaux,
Yes.
Counselor Craig Cormier,
Yes.
Counselor Ronald Cormier,
Yes.
Counselor Jenna Lowett,
Yes.
Counselor Graves,
Yes.
Counselor Harden,
Yes.
Counselor Mack,
Yes.
Counselor Tyrus,
Yes.
Counselor Walsh,
Yes.
President Kaczynskis,
Yes,
11 yeas.
the motion carries. So back to the item, the amended item is now an order appropriating $225,500 from free cash to mayor's unclassified building demo account. Counselor Ron Cormier?
Speaking on the motion, I think there isn't a single one of us here that is happy with having to expend this amount of money. This is a situation where a not very responsible individual apparently left us with a situation that we are now stuck with. we do have a responsibility to the safety and the well-being of the public. That is not just the surrounding and abutting neighbors. I think Council Graves alluded to it earlier. If something, heaven forbid, should happen, I'm not sure we could live with ourselves. And then the other thing is, we do have to rely on the judgment of our experts. And we receive voluminous quantities, documentation of photos showing the deterioration that's happened in the last month as compared to some of these other properties that were mentioned. This one seems to be going downhill and going downhill very, very rapidly. So I, for one, will support this amended motion for the reasons that it is our responsibility. It's a moral obligation that we have. Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor. Counselor Mack?
I just wanted to first apologize to the council that I just late turned in my communication with the mayor and the city solicitor today, but I just want to briefly explain what it was. My questions have been to exhaust all efforts against the estate of the owner. When on page 44 of our document that we received, Cabot Risk said that if a person got hurt, the liability would be on the estate. So I've been pretty much looking at why wouldn't the estate be responsible for the demolition of the building? And the bottom line is from Attorney Flick that I've gotten is that you can't get blood from a stone. But that has been my question all along is, you know, like everybody else, I don't want to have to spend this money and we have to put personal safety first. But it really upsets me that this estate has no fiduciary responsibility towards contributing to this public safety hazard. Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor Mack. Further discussion? Counselor Boudreau?
I would just like to state that I am going to be supporting this. I don't think it sets the best precedent, but morally, I feel it is something that we have to do, or as Councillor Ronald Cormier said, we won't be able to live with ourselves. This is something that I have correspondence going back and forth with community development and planning and the former mayoral administration since 2016, 2017. So we've known about this issue and have been working towards getting kind of the estate or the owners of the building to do what they needed to do. It is unfortunate that such a disaster could potentially occur, and I would hate to see what happens in that situation. I'd like to thank the mayor and all of the staff at City Hall for doing their due diligence with this and getting it to us so quickly. I think this kind of stinks, but it's something we have to do. It's part of our job. Thank you. That is all.
Thank you, Counselor Boudreau. Any further discussion? Counselor Graves?
Thank you, President Kaczynskis. I want to thank the mayor and commend the mayor for putting together a very comprehensive letter outlined to the city council, all the facts, the outlines, what our options are. I also want to commend the council president for showing the leadership to schedule this meeting tonight. And this is an indication of both branches of the city government working together on something that, pardon the pun, fell on our laps. Now, I just want to talk about the mayor's options here. And I agree with the mayor. I'm 100% back in the mayor on this one, that there's only one real option, in my opinion, agreeing with the mayor. The first option is to simply do nothing. And I don't think it's a question of whether or not we could live with ourselves. It's a question of whether the person that the building falls on can live with us. And the answer to that would be no, he or she won't be able to live with us because he or she will be dead. So option one is not doable because we know it's going to fall down. And I do rely on the experts on this. And the building commissioner, I was there with the building commissioner, and he specifically showed me that there's joists, if that's the right word, or roof beams or roof joists, that when they fell, when the roof collapsed, it actually is pushing out on one wall and the wall that's facing the street. So if the building falls, it's not going to fall in, because I asked that question. I'm like, why don't we just push it in or let it fall in, leave it there, put a nice fence around it so kids can't get in and walk away from it. We don't have the 300 grand. but it's not going to fall that way. It's going to fall on somebody. And we can't allow the possibility that one person gets hurt. Kids are going to go in there. We've all been kids before. We used to hang out in deserted buildings. It's a good place to hang out. They don't care about signs. They don't care about any of that stuff. They're going to be in there. They're going to die. So option 2 is to proceed with the tax title proceedings and obtain ownership and then do it. That's just not even an option, because what's going to happen is we're going to demolish the place, and then we're going to have a nice empty lot at some point, and the city's going to want to own that lot. I mean, we're not cleaning this lot up for somebody else, are we? So obviously we're going to demolish it, clean it all up. It's going to be all nice after that. It's going to cost taxpayers a ton of money, but we're going to have a lot that looks nice, and it's going to be marketable. It's in a good location and all that. So we have to go through with the tax taking so that we'll own the nice lot. We're going to pay the taxpayers are going to pay all the money on it. We should at least own it. So the only option to me is the one that the mayor wants us to do, is option 3, is demolish the thing, bite the bullet. I don't want to write the check either. Believe me, I hate spending money. I hate spending the taxpayers' money. But as far as obligation, we use the word moral or whatever. If we read the statute, chapter 143, I'm reading it right now. If the building inspector's report declares such structure to be dangerous and open to the weather, and the mortgagee or the owner continues to refuse or neglects to take care of it, this is what it says. The local inspector shall cause it to be made safe or taken down or to be made secure. That's the word shall. To me, shall means you got to do it. It's right in the law, but there's good news to that law too. And this is the section. Now, this has nothing to do with the tax taking. Now, some of us are concerned that, we're bailing out the property owner and they should be paying for it. First of all, we don't know anything about the property owner. They probably have no money. They probably had no means to fix this place up. They're probably just ignoring it, hoping it just goes away. That stuff happens. It doesn't make the person evil. It doesn't make them malicious. We can call them names and say how awful they are and all that. We don't know anything about them, but here's the point. If we do this, if we demolish it under chapter 1, section 143, this is what it says. The cost and charges incurred shall continue. The cost and charges incurred shall continue a debt due the city or town upon completion of the work and the rendering of an account thereof to the owner of such structure, and shall be enforced in an action of contract. And such owner, lessee, or mortgagee in possession shall, for every day's continuance of such refusal and neglect after being so notified, be punished by a fine of not less than $100. So this is going to be a claim against the owners. So someday if they win the lottery, if we find out they have money down the road, we have, and this is separate from the tax takings. Usually when you take a tax taking, you take it and that's the end of it. And that's all you get. But in this case, we're actually going to have a claim against the people for whatever it's going to cost us. I agree with the city solicitor. I think we're never going to get anything out of him, but who knows? Maybe we will. So anyways, that's about all I have to say about it, I think. So anyways, I'm in favor of it. I don't want to spend the money, but I'm going to vote for it. Thank you, President Kaczynskis.
Thank you, Councilor Graves. Any further discussion? Councilor Walsh?
Yes, just so I'm not sure to what extent the public who might be watching or now or in the future is aware of the overall circumstances because of the way in which we now communicate. But what we have here is a property at 177 West Street that is in a significant state of disrepair and is at risk of falling down. And it's in close proximity to the street, to an abutting property, and to an abutting commercial property, and an abutting residential property. The property is assessed by our city assessor at $98,000. The owners of the property, the city does not own the property. It may in the future through tax title proceedings, but not at this time. The city has no legal responsibility at this time, in my judgment, for making the property safe or for any liability that might be incurred in the event of damage or injury. We're being asked to spend $225,500 to cure the problem that the private property owner failed to cure. Essentially, we have a private property owner who walked away from the property, abandoned it, stopped paying taxes, stopped taking care of the property, maintaining it, keeping it in good repair. As I mentioned, it's assessed at $98,000. We have been provided with information about other demolition projects that the city has undertaken over the past several years. I presume that was presented as examples of what the city has done with demolition projects in the past, in the recent past. And that is true, that the city has undertaken a number of demolition projects at 20 Rock Street, at the Mackey Block downtown, 32 Parker Street, the former Orpheum Theater property, 158 Rear Main Street, the 85 Winter Street, which was part of the S. Bent property in South Gardner, 122 Main Street recently, 58 Nichols Street, 138 Pleasant Street. All of these are properties in the last few years in which the city has conducted a demolition project and taken the building down. The distinction between all of those and this one presented to us now is that every one of those other projects, every one of those other demolition projects was funded by grant money. Every single dime of it was, not one dime of it came from city taxpayer dollars. This one is fully coming from city taxpayer dollars to start with, and we don't know where it will end. As I've said in the past, I'm concerned that we're setting a terrible example by bailing out a property owner in a way that sets a precedent that I'm disturbed by and disagree with. So for that reason, I will vote no, because I think it's a very poor appropriation of taxpayer dollars to cure a private property owner's problem. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Walsh. Any further discussion? Councilor Graves?
Second time I know this is it. And it was just because of something Councilor Walsh said. And I agree with everything he said, believe me. Looked at it that way as well. But the city, it looks to me, and maybe somebody on the finance committee can correct me if I'm wrong. It looks to me like the city expended a fair amount of efforts and probably, and maybe even the mayor, to go through the tax title. It looks like we got pretty far down the line of the tax title procedures. And we're almost there. We're almost at the point where we were going to own this place. So I guess my question is, if we were going to take this place, what were we going to do with it? Fix it up? Or maybe Councilor Walsh would say there probably would be a grant for that if we owned it, and you probably would be right. But it just seems to me like we were going to take it anyways, and we would have had to deal with it. So I guess maybe I answered my own question in that maybe we would have been able to get a grant for it. But anyways, that was my comment. Thank you, President Kaczynskis.
Thank you, Councilor Graves. Any further discussion? Councilor Mack?
For the second time, Council President, it was interesting to learn from Councilor Boudreaux tonight that the city has been involved in this situation from 2016. That's news, or the condition of the building since then. So that's news to me this evening. I didn't know that the city had known about it for so long. And it's unfortunate we're to a point that we have no choice because what Councilor Walsh, I just want to clarify, did not mention is that the current owner is deceased. So that puts us in a different situation. We're not dealing with some of the other properties that you had owners that just walked away, okay? This one we have no ability to communicate or to negotiate with. But I will say that it had in 2016, things moved faster. Maybe we wouldn't have been in this position, but we are, and we have to deal with it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Mack. Further discussion? Councilor Boone?
Thank you, Madam President. Through the chair to maybe others that might know, is there a possibility that we could get a grandfathered, if you will? I'm just curious if anybody has any type of information on that.
I would defer to Mayor Councilor Cormier. Ron Cormier?
I did inquire about that, and grants are not grandfather. It would be nice, but I did talk to the Community Development Planning Office, and that is not, it would be nice, it would make sense. But apparently the government doesn't always make sense.
Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor. Mayor Nicholson?
Thank you very much, Madam President. Just to add to what Councilor Cormier was saying, I did also inquire as to that question. The process for community development and planning, community development block grants on being approved from initial application to demolition is approximately 2 years with a 1-year study and then a 1-year lead up to the demolition. So that's why that project, avenue was viewed as not feasible at this time. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Nicholson. Any further discussion? Counselor Tyros?
Thank you, Madam President. As others had said, there's a lot of negative things going on with this situation, but I think it's important too to note a positive silver lining. And as Councilor Walsh pointed out, we will be spending taxpayer money on this. But I also think it's a really good sign in our community that, you know, we're going to be taking care of this. We're taking action. I think it would be worse to take no action, and the message that sends to businesses and potential families that look to come to Gardner. So I'll be voting in support of this. Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor Tyros. Further discussion? There's no further discussion. Just to repeat the motion. Motion made by Counselor Ron Cormier, seconded by Counselor Walsh. The amended order is an order appropriating $225,500 from free cash to mayor's unclassified building demo account. Seeing there's no further discussion, the clerk will please call the roll.
Councilor Boone,
Yes.
Councilor Boudreaux,
Yes.
Councilor Craig Cormier,
Yes.
Councilor Ronald Cormier,
Yes.
Councilor Jenna Lowett,
Yes.
Councilor Graves,
Yes.
Councilor Harder,
Yes.
Councilor Mack,
Yes.
Councilor Tyros,
Yes.
Councilor Walsh,
No.
President Kaczynski.
Yes,
10 yeas, 1 nay.
the motion carries. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Motion made by Counselor Mack, seconded by Counselor Craig Cormier. The clerk will please call the roll.
Councilor Boone,
Yes.
Councilor Boudreaux,
Yes.
Councilor Craig Cormier,
Yes.
Councilor Ronald Cormier,
Yes.
Councilor Jenna Lowett,
Yes.
Councilor Graves,
Yes.
Councilor Harder,
Yes.
Councilor Mack,
Yes.
Councilor Tyros,
Yes.
Councilor Walsh,
Yes.
President Kaczynski.
Yes,
11 yeas.
the meeting stands adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Good night.
Good night.
Thank-
Night.